Okay, we
All
are
right.
live here. David and Jerry's Real Estate Cafe from Jerry Hogenhout's backyard here in Orangeville. Jerry, how
Yes.
are you?
I'm very good.
Good to see you. I'm
Thanks
glad
for bringing the road show here.
we brought the show out. Jerry and I, we both had our COVID test yesterday since we knew we were going to be sitting close together. We have a small live audience. We have some good friends here. Sorry we couldn't invite all of you, but due to social distancing requirements, we are keeping the numbers a bit light for now, and as time goes by, we'll start to increase. And the exciting thing is, Jerry, now in this new world, we're going to be integrating podcasts, live events together, all in one.
Yeah, this is the new norm, I guess. I mean, it was really pretty easy to set this up here today, other than the tornado. But other than
Yeah,
that, it was pretty easy. I mean, this is pretty mobile. We can basically do this anywhere,
we
which is
we
cool.
we can do it anywhere, and that's our plan. Our plan is to get around. Jerry and I have been out looking for commercial real estate in different parts of the province to look for opportunities.
We are desperately looking in Wasaga, Collingwood, Midland area. So if anybody out there knows of any good deals out there, please let us know.
Give us a call. And we have Justin Kowal has joined us as well. Hey, Justin, good to have
Hey, how
you.
are you doing?
Good, good. Just hang in there for a bit, please. Jerry and I are just going to discuss a few things, and then we're going to bring on. We have an incredibly packed show tonight because this is kind of a party of sorts, if you
Yeah.
will, before the summer holiday. It's the beginning of August now, and we're going to tear it up. We're going to have
Yeah. Good night. Good
a good
social.
night, and hopefully a good month,
Then take a break for a bit,
and then
right?
we're going to take a
Yeah.
break, and we're gonna hit it again in September.
Good. Cool.
Sound good?
Good.
All
Yeah. So
right.
we got a nice show here for you tonight.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so let me tell you high level the
Yep.
plan for tonight.
Giddy up.
Okay, so first of all, we have in the audience just to mention a few good friends who came out. We've got Ian Walterhouse here, good friend realtor. We have Ravi Thacker, also realtor, mortgage agent. Justin Reeves, good friend and real estate investor. We also have Randy
Randy
Hunter.
Hunter.
I
Yeah.
don't know what
Randy
Randy
Hunter.
does, but
Randy Hunter is a bookkeeper, accountant, mortgages.
okay.
Randy does a lot of things.
All right, so we got lots of talent in the room and online. An incredible lineup of guests we have tonight. First, Jerry and I are going to do a short tax talk. Well, Jerry's going to do the tax talk. I'm going to listen, and then we're going to talk about private equity. We're going to do a bit of a deep dive into private equity. What is that all about? And then we're going to be speaking with Justin Kowal from Firm Capital, and they do construction mortgages and variety of mortgages. So I think that will be interesting. They do some large loans and not so large loans, but it'll be interesting to see what they look for and how does construction financing work,
Yeah. It
because
should be
that's I think
interesting.
some
Yeah.
people are curious about that. We have James Waters from CanSpec. James Waters is a great home inspector, and we're going to find out what's been happening in home inspections lately. Can people, even get into homes?
Yeah. There's
What's that been like? And
lots of changes in that
and
world.
and how things are changing now that they're opening up. We have Jonathan Weaver who's going to
Nice.
join us. Twin Springs Camping and Cottages. He's doing tiny homes, and it's a great way if you're looking for affordable way to have a place by the water, and there's an investment opportunity associated with it. And also Jin Kim, who's a good friend, developer, investor. He's doing some very interesting work in
Yeah.
short-term rentals.
Yeah.
He's spoken at a number of
Yeah.
our
I think Jin has
meetings.
some interesting opportunities to
Right,
share
right.
with us.
He does. So we've got a full agenda, and as always, we do want to hear from you, our guests at home. If you have questions, you can post them, preferably under the Q&A area, but we'll do our best to see them. My glasses don't transition as so well, so we're going to do our best to. But we do appreciate all your participation over the last few months. It's been great. It's made this a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's been right. It's pretty
These
good.
Tuesday evening events.
Yeah.
So we're delighted to have you all back. Jerry,
Yes.
Tax talk.
Tax
What do you
talk.
What do you
Okay.
got for us?
Okay, I'm going to keep it real short. We
Okay.
got a very, very deep agenda tonight. So I'm just going to touch on a quick thing, really quick. A lot of talk in the last couple of weeks in the accounting world. Principal residence exemption. I'm going to touch on that. As you probably all know, your principal residence is exempt of tax. A few years ago, the Liberal government requires now that we document the sale of our principal residence on our tax return. And apparently, if you don't do that, you're not going to get the principal residence exemption. So, just a word of caution: when you do sell your principal residence, make sure you document it on your tax return. There's many strategies with the principal residence exemption, especially if you own multiple homes, a cottage and a house. We can decide which property we apply the principal residence exemption to. Kind of a rule of thumb is we take the higher valued property, or the property with the higher capital gain, and we usually use the principal residence against that. So the tax system also allows us an overlap of 1 year, so we can actually claim two principal residence exemptions in 1 year. But that's about as deep as I want to go on to. I just want to remind our viewers that when you do sell your principal residence, make sure you document it on the tax return, because CRA is warning that if you don't, you're not going to get the exemption. So it's a lot of free money there. So make sure we do it right. So I just want to leave it at that. We got a full
Okay.
agenda, so
Well,
I kind of
plus,
want to
plus we don't toot our horns a lot, but I can tell you that Jerry's a great accountant. So if you do need an accountant, give him a call. He'll give you the full
Yeah, and if
lowdown.
anybody has any tax questions, by all means, write them, jot them down, and we'll try to address them
Yeah,
tonight.
and
But
we'll put up everybody's contact information soon. So all of the panelists, including our own, we welcome your phone calls or your emails, whatever. Uh,
so we should get right
yes,
into the private equity. We
let's
want to
do it.
go a deep
Private
dive.
equity, deep dive.
Private equity. Lots of people talking about private equity, and who better than David Grossman to maybe tell us what private equity is all about? You've recently become licensed in that
I,
area, so why don't you tell the viewers what private equity is, what made you decide to get licensed in private equity?
okay,
The floor is yours.
okay. Thanks very much. Good question. So. Well, as a mortgage agent slash broker for the last 17 years, I found that not everybody is looking for a mortgage at any given time, but most people are thinking about their investments. So for a time, I was looking for mortgage investment opportunities, and people always come to me looking for mortgage investment opportunities, and I wish I had enough if I had a mortgage for every person that asked me
Hmm.
for a mortgage investment opportunity, I would be a wealthy man. Uh, but there just isn't the volume of deals, and we know about the syndicated mortgages. I don't even want to get into that. We've heard about that unfortunate circumstance. So a few years ago, I could see what was happening with the syndicated mortgages, and I decided that I would get licensed as a dealing representative. And what is private equity? Private equity is an investment where you're basically bypassing the public markets. So if a developer, for example, wants to raise money, or real estate investor or developer wants to raise money, they can go to private market, and it's not subject to all the same regulations that's required. It's very expensive to be out on the stock exchange. And when you're on the stock exchange, as we all know, then you're subject to the ups and downs
Yeah,
of the stock
yeah,
exchange. So we don't have that with private equity.
yeah. We call that the public market.
The
The,
public
the, the
market.
stock market is the public market,
That's
and
right.
private equity is the
Exactly.
private market.
Exactly. And you may have heard the term exempt market dealer. So you're exempt from having to do a prospectus and exempt from all the requirements that are required if you're going to be in the public market. You do still have to have an offering memorandum.
So why don't we? That's an interesting point. So why don't we maybe touch on that a little bit, just on that,
Sure.
because some people are confused about the difference between a prospectus and an offering memorandum. And the easy way to describe it, remember those old Bell telephone books that were like this thick? That's
Mm,
that's what a prospectus is compared to an offering memorandum, which can be 5, 10, 15 pages.
right.
So in theory, when you're in the public market, you're going to get this huge bundle, which they call a prospectus, and the system assumes then you're informed if you're going to read those 4,000 pages. Where in the private equity world, we have a very condensed version called an offering memorandum, and that's how that's what companies use to raise their capital to inform the investors. So anyway, there's a very distinct difference. But anyway,
Right.
sorry, I
Yeah,
jumped in,
no,
Gary.
that's okay. That's a very good point. Um, so private equity is a people that is an area where people are interested in. They can get usually somewhat higher returns, and they can get access to investments that are not always available on the public market.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of advantages. There's some disadvantages. I can quickly rhyme off.
Sure, go ahead, please do.
I have it listed here. I'm not going to go into a really deep dive because it's going to take too long. But some of the advantages of private equity, especially real estate, because when we talk about private equity, it's not necessarily real estate. Even though this is a real estate show, we all like real estate. We look at the private equity market for real estate investments, but private equity could be oil and gas, factoring receivables. There's private equity firms that raise capital just to buy different businesses. So the word private equity encompasses a lot of different business opportunities, but we focus on real estate. And in the private equity world, when we look at real estate, most of that is what we call real estate income trusts. We know it as REITs. Okay, I love REITs. David love REITs. We all love REITs. It's a great way to invest in real estate uh, through a real estate income trust. Some of the advantages. There's diversification. So if you do invest into a real estate income trust, you can diversify between different types of real estate. Real estate itself is a very broad term. Is it commercial real estate? Is it residential real estate? Is it foreign? Is it Canadian? Is it high end? Is it low end? So the word real estate is quite encompassing. So we get to really pick the area that we like. My favorite area is more the residential multi-unit, more towards the low to medium end multi-unit rental range.
Right, and usually things that are in the GTA, right? Because that's a market that,
Within a 2 hour radius
right,
of the GTA. So the
right.
vacancy rates have always been extremely low in that area. So there's been good, consistent returns, consistent growth with those type of REITs. So there's a lot of REITs out there. I mean, when we look at REITs, a lot of it is the management. The
Mhm.
nice thing about private equity, we get a nice close relationship with the management and the ownership of those companies. And good management plus a good REIT equals a pretty good investment. You could have a good REIT with bad management, and that's going to reflect on the returns. So, it's a good way to really work close with the owners of the company, the management of the company, and feel comfortable. A couple of other advantages. There's limited liability. So when somebody invests in a REIT, you're only responsible for the capital you put in. So if everything did go south, you're not liable for any of the problems that might happen in that investment. So your liability is restricted. It's a good way to leverage. For example, if a REIT has 10 apartment buildings, you can get into that REIT, whereas maybe on your own you couldn't buy one apartment building. So you're really leveraging your return. The best thing I love about REITs is what's called return of capital, and I touched on it a few webinars ago. Most of us know that when we invest money, we get return on that money, either interest, dividends, or capital gains. Well, the beauty in REITs is we also can get what's called return of capital.
Hmm.
Return of capital, basically, without going into a real deep dive, is you get an income stream that is literally non-taxable, which is pretty cool.
Is it non-taxable or is it
Non-taxable.
deferred?
It's non-taxable. Okay, so you're
Okay.
getting a return on your investment is non-taxable. Uh, really tax advantageous when we try to do tax planning and financial planning, and we don't want that income to be taxable. Any money that you do receive through return of capital will reduce the adjusted cost base of that investment, and you'll pay capital gains when you sell. So without going into a deep dive in that, it's a great way to convert
Okay,
that
so
income.
as a capital gain, you're getting a preferred tax treatment
You get
and it's deferred. So
Yeah,
you
so you
you
get it.
and you don't pay it till you sell the
Correct.
investment.
So you get a deferral plus, as some know, a capital gain is only half tax. So half of a capital gain is tax free. So we're converting. So we're getting all this money from the REIT as return of capital. It's helping our cash flow. We're not paying tax. And when we do finally sell at the point that we want to, which as David mentioned is deferred, we're only paying half of the tax on that. So
Right.
it's a great way. So I love the return on
Plus,
capital component.
you get a lifetime exemption of a certain amount, don't you? Capital gains, is that
It depends if it's shares. There's
okay?
qualifying shares. That's a real deep dive.
Okay,
I don't know
so
if you want to go into that one.
that's a different dive.
We're not going to have time for everybody if we go
Okay,
into that one.
all right.
Some other advantages quickly. Hands-off ownership. You own part of the 10, 12, 1500 apartments. It's hands-off ownership. No more landlord. REITs are very attractive to people who have owned properties before, and really are getting on in age. They don't want to deal with tenants. They'd really rather not manage the properties. A REIT is a great option for them. REITs have a layer of management. Okay, a REIT is simple terms. Most REITs own apartment buildings. The management collects the rent, takes out their fee, pays all the bills to the apartment building, and distributes the net rent back to the investors. So there's a layer of management which provides expertise to these investments, and in a perfect world, that makes sure that your investment goes up. Liquidity. It's more liquidity in a REIT than there is in owning a property. So it is liquid. You have access to a large market cap. There's a low barrier to entry of
What does
$5,000.
that
I think
mean? You have access to a large market cap. What does
so
that mean?
some of these REITs, will have literally $1 billion of assets, and you can get in there for $5,000. A lot of
Right,
them. So you're really getting access to a very large market cap
right, and they're
at a very low.
RSP eligible, right?
They're RSP eligible. One of the disadvantages of a REIT, and I don't even know if it's a disadvantage, but it's limited use of leverage. Okay, now all of us who have bought a house, we've put some money down, we've gone to the bank and got a mortgage, and most of us have done very well owning a house. We're leveraging. We're going to the bank and borrowing money.
Hmm.
And so keep it simple. If we buy $100,000 house, we put 10 grand in, we borrow $90,000, and let's just say it doubles, just to keep the math simple. We've only put in 10,000 bucks, and
Hmm.
$100,000 house is doubled. So we made 100 grand on our 10 grand. So that's really leveraging well.
Right,
So when you get into a REIT, you really don't have that.
but
So
aren't the managers are using leverage though,
the
are they not?
managers are
I mean,
are, are using leverage, but the individuals not. And one way that you can do that is actually you can borrow money. If you borrow money for the REIT, then you actually are leveraging. So inside of the REIT,
right,
there is leverage.
yes.
For yourself, there is not leverage unless you borrow money, and that's a whole other topic because
Well, that's a good question.
should
I
you
would
borrow
you,
money?
well, what would you say to that? I wanted to ask
Yeah,
you that. If somebody said, should I borrow money to invest in a REIT?
yeah, that's interesting because I've been brought up to, don't buy it unless you have the money. So I was never big on leverage, borrowing money. Um, I've changed my tune a bit to the point. I mean, I went through a phase of buying a house a year for 10 years. I never could have done that if I didn't leverage. And so I became comfortable with leverage. I saw the advantage of leveraging, but it is a very personal decision. I've always said you cannot have enough good debt. So at this point in my life, it doesn't concern me at all to borrow a whole bunch of money to leverage something. But certainly in the beginning, it was concerning. So we certainly amplify the potential income. So I try not to encourage people to leverage, but it's a very personal thing. So I try to explain the benefits and the good and the bad, and I really try to get someone comfortable with leveraging. And if they feel that's a good route for them, then we'd encourage it. But
Jerry, what kind of returns can people make?
well, again, real estate income trusts are not designed, if you want to make 20, 30%, go to the stock market and roll the dice. You can lose it all, you can gain your money too. REITs are really designed to make 10%, 12%, but a strong protection of capital. In my company, we put a larger emphasis on protecting somebody's capital than we do on the rates of return that can be gained. So I find nothing better. Two things I love the most: REITs and private mortgage lending. Both of those areas, you can really protect the capital well while getting a decent rate of return. So don't go into a REIT expecting 25, 30%. Go into a REIT expecting 10, 12%, and that should be pretty consistent. There's also, the great thing about a REIT, the stock market doesn't impact the returns of private REITs. I mean, that's an awesome thing. I mean, we've been through this COVID. I mean, the public REITs on the publicly traded market lost about 30% when they went through COVID. The private REITs are unaffected. Oh,
Okay. Well,
there's
there's a question
here.
from Terry. He's confused. They get no taxation on the return of capital, but did you suggest no tax on the returns that are not a return of capital, but rather a profit?
Okay, so let me try to answer that question so you can understand it. So if you invest in a REIT, most REITs will provide a distribution, okay, 5%, 6%, 8%, 9%. That distribution is paid to you either monthly or quarterly. That can be return of capital. Okay, that is not taxable. You're not going to get a tax slip. It does not go on your tax return. Now let's assume your investment goes up, okay, and you sell out in 5 years. Now you sell. Now you've created a gain. So now you're going to pay capital gains on not only the increase in your investment, but you're also going to pay the capital gains on the money that you received as return of capital. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay, Michelle Kahn, love to talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for your comment. Appreciate that. And then there was a comment here about what about the commercial REITs? What is the impact of COVID on a commercial REIT?
Do you want that one, or do you want me to?
No. Well, go ahead,
okay,
Gerry.
So commercial REIT, I'm not a fan of commercial REITs, okay, for the simple reason, either residential REITs or commercial REITs. People need a place to live. Residential REITs, so, the vacancies are so low. So I really, my preference, I'm not saying you shouldn't invest in a commercial REIT, but a commercial REIT, we've seen what's happened with COVID. It's pushed everybody indoors. We're all doing Zoom meetings now. The need for commercial space is becoming less. So I'd be concerned on a large commercial REIT. Online shopping now. I mean, all these retail stores. So I'm not a big fan of commercial REITs. I'm not saying you can't make any money. I would look at a commercial REIT more to try to make a higher rate of return than a residential REIT, but you're applying more risk to your portfolio, in my opinion.
So. And I can say, Gerry, like, I'm somewhat new to the private equity world. I got licensed about 5-6 months ago. Gerry, you have been talking about REITs and private equity for a number of years, and in all the years I've known you, you've only been talking about residential REITs.
Again,
even before COVID.
Yeah, again, obviously. In my opinion, it's just it's just a good way to protect capital first.
Right.
That's all. I mean, commercial REITs. We saw what happened when Target came to Canada and then left. There was tons of empty commercial retail stores. We're hopefully we come out of COVID soon. What's going to happen to the commercial market? Is there, I mean, there's a lot of stores closing.
Yeah. There were more announcements this week. Old Navy, Gap, and so on. Many stores.
We're all even myself. I started buying stuff online. I never bought stuff online. Well, now I go online, and I mean, it's a dangerous thing to do because everything's so easy. But I don't need to go to a retail store anymore. So I'm concerned. That's just my own opinion. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, very good. So, Gerry, I think that was a good dive into private equity.
Covered a bit, yeah.
So appreciate you hanging with us and for the questions that we did get. Let's get into our agenda, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so first we've got Justin Kual. We're going to ask him to unmute, if you would there. Okay, yeah, Justin, how are you? Welcome.
Good. Can you hear me, David?
Yes, we can hear you. Good to have you.
Perfect. No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me this evening.
So Justin is a manager at a firm called Firm Capital. Been around for a very long time. They're very knowledgeable group. They know what they do. And I've done some loans with Justin. We were working together recently, actually, with Ravi on a deal, which we're still hoping to move forward on. And we appreciate your assistance on that. Tell us about Firm Capital and about construction financing. What does firm capital look for in a construction loan? What type of loans are you doing? How does it work?
So I'll just give you a quick brief background on our company. We've been around for 30 plus years. We went public in 1999 for a mortgage investment corp. The market cap fluctuates anywhere from $400 to $600 million for the public entity there. There's pools of capital behind that that fill in any deficiencies in any mortgages that we put out into the market space. We also do have a publicly traded REIT on the TSX Venture. That market cap, I think, is around about 200 million, and the asset class varies. It could be some loans that default with us on either commercial, multifamily, industrial type of business that we'll take back, roll it into there, or it's also on the acquisition side of it as well. And then we also do have a U.S. business that we took over about 4 years ago, repositioned, and it's now holds a lot of multifamily assets in the United States and does a little bit of construction financing. So it's still in its infancy, and we're sort of replicating what we're doing up here in Canada. But again, we've been around for quite a long time. We've weathered a lot of recessions. A lot of our stocks are dividend paying. So it's, if you're looking as well, you're discussing investing in mortgages, this is another option. We do pay a year-end special dividend, so it equates to about I think it's $1.10 share. So it's pretty good yield there. And further to your point about REIT, it's a publicly traded REIT. Northwest specializes in medical. We have a little bit more of a mixed bag, but our real estate management team is very, very strong. So there's always opportunity for us in terms of that, acquiring, selling, and so forth. So in regards to construction financing, we do a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. Everything from your single family dwellings, condo purchases, refinances, foreign investors, self-employed, anything that is a little tricky, all the way up to, $4 or $5 million luxury builds, to, supporting large builder developers that we've graduated over the years. For example, like your Brad Lands, your Sam Mizrahis, etc., your Anthony Hellers of Plaza Corp. So we've had our hands on a little bit of everything and have a good knowledge base there. So in terms of construction lending, it's really the equity portion. It's how your capital stack comes together. In this market space, in probably the last 5 years, 7 years, I would say, the market was sort of, go out, minimum down payments, you have 5% in the deal. You can borrow some mezzanine capital in behind, or do an equity raise through these syndicated mortgages and so forth. But the market's now shifted where when we're looking at transactions, especially land in particular, that's going to be developable down the road, the timeline is very important. Experience is very important. And your equity position is very important. A lot of people are trying to come in with very high leverage on land, build an interest reserve, and it just doesn't work that way. We're not land speculators. A lot of lenders aren't in that position. Part of the whole process is carrying some of these soft costs, which include interest, any of your development charges, letters of credit to the cities and so forth, planning consultants and whatnot. So, you can't come in and expect to build a 20-story tower after you built a few custom homes. You do have to bring experience to the table, and lenders are looking at that very thoroughly. And it's also appraisals as well as the other thing. I'll just touch on this is more the land stuff right now. We can go into some smaller custom homes, which may be some more deals that some of your viewers may see. But it's the classic deal where the guy bought it 2 years ago for $4 or $5 million, has a hypothetical valuation from your Colliers, Avison Young, whoever. Draft plan approval, or it's going to be submitted soon. We're going to do a 20-story tower, X amount of units, and then, the land in theory could be worth, 15 million. Built out, it would be worth 65 million. And guys just try and refinance these things and pull the equity out. Well, you get into this position where if I give you, now the land's worth $10 million, you bought it for $5 million, and now you're asking for 65, 70% financing on this. Well, you just sucked any money that you had into the deal out. So really, if you tank the deal or you don't know what you're doing, and it's not really money out of your pocket. In theory, you probably put more back into your pocket and go forward from there. So on any of the larger transactions, especially development, I mean, really understand what your client's experience level is. It's not his first rodeo. Find out what his equity position is. Find out when and how much he bought it for, and make sure you get a proper land appraisal, especially if it's still like a year or two out. And you got to, there's planning consultants, environmental reports, geotechnical reports that all sort of go along with that. So, I mean, the basics of it though is sort of just what when do they buy it? How much? What's their experience level? And how much equity do they have behind them? Okay, especially on the larger transactions. So, I hope that sort of covers that aspect of it. And if you got any questions, David, before I go into the single family.
Justin, just curious, when you do construction financing, are you also looking at that deal as a potential purchaser once the construction is finished? Like, do you put first right of refusal in, or are you just simply funding the construction? And like, are you looking at the project as possibly owning it after the construction is done?
I don't want to say we're loan to own. A lot of times we do have that experience to do it, but first and foremost, we're financiers. We lend money. That's what our specialty is. Yes, we have participated in joint venture projects. Yes, we have put our own equity in with other developers. But if something does go sideways, I'm not going to be the one that's taking it back, and we're not into that. I can tell you we do have a big Rolodex of clients that we will put it out to. But you know what? When you go through a workout like this, you got to follow the process, right? It's got to go to market. It's got to sell for fair market value. The debt stack has to be paid out accordingly. So it's not like I can, nudge, hey, this is going to go sideways. Here's a great deal for you, or we're going to take it. We got to still follow protocol, and that's, about being professional.
Right. Do we have a question? That's okay. Okay. We'll get to that in 1 sec. Okay. So, as a mortgage broker, this is working.
So
with you has been, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So as a mortgage broker, I've been very interested to work with you because, we like to try and do the odd larger loan, and, because we can earn a nice commission if we can do a larger loan from time to time, right? So one of the things I've learned is, like, as you said, knowing what the experience is of the developer is very important. Net worth. How important is the net worth? Do you want to see a net worth statement of the developer?
We do like to see that, but as you know, I mean, these guys will sort of position themselves in funny ways, either through shell companies, etc. But I mean, if you can at least drill down on what their actual assets are, it'll sort of give you an indication of how they are with their money. But it's still definitely an important piece. So
okay,
absolutely.
But experience is obviously very important, and knowing what the capitals, there's got to be money in it. There's got to be equity in the deal, right? For them.
Correct. Yeah, they need to. Yeah,
right.
They need some skin in the game, and they need a bank account behind them, because you never can expect what may happen or foresee what's going to happen in the future in terms of, it could be issues with your environmental reports. So you could have contaminated lands, development charges, letters of credit in case you're doing servicing, etc. So there's a lot of things.
Okay.
Justin, are you focusing on certain areas, or you pretty free to go anywhere to lend?
For us, Toronto GTA is our big market space. Any of the big highway corridors, etc., your KWs, your London markets are really taking off. The Golden Horseshoe. Niagara Falls is still a little bit funny. Heading east, Ajax, Pickering, Whitby is really starting to take off, and north of all those areas as well. So there is a lot of opportunities that we do explore. Nothing rural is just, it's not our cup of tea. There's lenders that like to do that. It's just not ours. Yeah.
So you must see Niagara Falls as a good. St. Catharines, is that a?
St. Catharines is actually not too bad. Like the periphery areas of that Niagara Falls downtown are a little bit better. Welland's starting to experience some stuff. We haven't gone to the other side, to the other lakes over there. What is it, Lake Erie, I believe. That coastline there, we're not really involved in too much. So
interesting.
Do you want me to give you a little touch base on the custom home programs that we also offer?
Sure, do. Please do.
Okay, and the bread and butter of our business that sort of founded us back in the day was that renovation custom home. In today's market space, our loan to values are maximum 75% on the acquisitions. And again, talking about having money into the deal. So typically when we see somebody buy a tear down or a lot, 25 to 35% is sort of the sweet spot. Then that allows us to do 100% of your hard cost budget. Okay. We don't finance soft costs, which are permits, architects. Again, you might have some small development charges owing to the city and whatnot. We don't finance those. We typically structure an interest reserve into the construction financing as well, just from a comfort standpoint. It also allows the builder to put all his equity and resource into that project versus worrying about cash flow, et cetera, on the side. And sort of the ratios that we like to see is loan to cost and end value. Okay, so project cost would include your land acquisition, your hard cost budget, soft costs, and interest. Okay, which carrying costs, which you can sort of between the construction loan and maybe you have a bank in first position either way. So that would form your total project cost. And then the debt side would be the first mortgage with the bank, or if we come in and do a land advance and a construction facility and the interest reserve. So those two numbers, the loan to cost versus the project cost. So we don't want to see it any higher than 80%. And then typically our loan amount is no greater than 65% of the end value of the house when it's built.
So Justin, do you do like some of the smaller, like just custom builds? Like, because part of something we do in our company is fix and flip. So we'll buy a house in Toronto, we'll knock it down, and we'll rebuild it. Is that
Awesome. Yeah, that's exactly the program I just described there as well. And in Toronto, I mean, as you know, a renovation can easily cost $400,000 or $500,000 nowadays. To do a full gut down to the studs. So we definitely do those renovation loans as well.
Okay, great, Justin. Thanks for bringing us up to date on all that stuff. We're going to put everybody's contact information on the screen, but if you want, you're welcome to just type in your contact information in the comments in case anybody wants to reach out to you. They can do so. We're running till 9. If you are able to stay on, we'd love to have you stay on. There could be questions for you that come up. We may have an opportunity to comment on something, but for now we're going to move on. Now, Gerry, there was and thanks again, Justin, appreciate it. Gerry, there was a question here about the.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. There was a question about the type of an example of the type of I think Adele asked. Or something like that, wasn't there?
Hold on, I see it
who
there.
Do we recommend or something like that?
What companies offer a good REIT, including good management? Lots of them. Okay. I like the company out of Hamilton called Pulis, Pulis. Great management. They own 12 apartment buildings in Hamilton. They focus on the Hamilton area. It took me a little while to get comfortable with that, but after I did, and after I really learn more about management and the ownership, that's certainly a good company. Centurion REIT is another one. That's a big one. They have like 125 apartment buildings, lots in the Southern Ontario area. Super management. I think for 40 years now, they've been just paying their distributions without any hiccups at all. So there's 2, Centurion REIT, Pulis. But there are many others. Equiton is another one out of Burlington. That's a good company. District REIT through Pro Funds. That's another good REIT. So again, there's lots of good REITs out there. But you really want to look at the history. You want to do a deep dive into the management. You want to be able to read the financial statements. That's one benefit I have. I'm a chartered professional accountant. I used to work with Deloitte Touche. We used to do the audits on a lot of these REITs, so I would do the file, so I know exactly what to look for in these things. So that's helpful when we look, and that really gives us a good indication of what how management is doing. So lots of good REITs, but my 2 favorites would be Pulis and Centurion. Do you have any, David?
Well, as you know, Jerry, I'm getting my feet wet here, and those are the two that Jerry's taken me under his wing here in terms of learning the ropes and some of the good people at Huxton Black, where I'm registered as a dealing representative. So
Cool.
those
Yeah.
are the two that I'm most familiar with. But in any event, when somebody's interested, we really need to have a talk with people to make sure that they're properly diversified, as you know. And there are some restrictions about how much people can invest, whether they're
Yeah.
eligible
Yeah.
investors,
We never
and
talked about
so
that
on.
on our
No,
deep
no, we
dive
didn't.
on
We
the
didn't.
private
We
equity.
didn't.
We
We didn't.
should.
But
Yeah,
maybe we can.
there are restrictions, and
Yeah.
maybe if we have time at the end,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
do a little deep dive
Sounds
into that.
sounds good. Or maybe a shallow dive. Anyway,
Shallow dive.
okay, very good. So next up, we've got James Waters. James, I'm going to try and unmute you here. Ask to unmute. Okay, James.
He's still muted. There he
Okay,
is.
there we are. James,
Come
can
on,
you?
James.
Ready to go.
There you
All
go.
right,
All right.
James. Yeah, we've been doing our musical open mics, and so I recognize the room there. When COVID first hit, we were doing these open mics, and James is actually a very talented singer
Oh,
guitar
there you
player.
go.
So we're doing
Thank
that.
you. I would say you're a very talented singer and guitar player yourself.
Well, nice, very, very nice of you to say. Soon we'll get back into doing adding a musical component
I do have a
to
guitar
our
here,
event. You have a
David.
guitar. Yeah. Okay.
Might
Well,
have to drag that out.
we
Do
may
you
have to.
play, Jerry?
Your talents.
Yeah. We'll do a deep dive. Okay. Anyhow, so and also Ian Walterhouse speaks very highly of you, who's here tonight. So, and I've known you for a long time,
He's a
James.
great guy as well.
Yeah, he is a great guy, and we've had you on a talk show. I think I interviewed you probably 10 years ago on a talk show. Does that sound right? Maybe
Yeah,
not.
that's right.
That's
You had
right.
an office downtown.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're happy to have you with us, James. Can you tell us what's new, what's happening? I mean, I know there was with COVID restrictions and people not. I know appraisers were not even going into people's houses, but and I don't, as a mortgage broker, I don't see what's happening on the home inspection side, really. um, I deal with appraisers, and they were asking people to take photos and so on. What was it like as a home inspector doing inspections during COVID, and are things are changing now?
Yeah, when it first kind of hit hard, uh, the thing that I remember is we just didn't know what we didn't know. So, was it airborne? Is it on surfaces? So what do you do to protect yourself and let people know that you're trying to protect them? So, what we did is we set some protocols. I have a couple other inspectors that work with me in my company, and we decided that we would follow basically mold protocols because we've done quite a bit with mold in the past as well. So we just set up the PPE for ourselves when we enter a home, and so we wear full protection, gloves, and just wear it until we're finished, which isn't that comfortable, but it's. I think people feel the people that are selling the home feel more secure when there's somebody going in that is all gloved out and wearing face masks and a suit and in their home. The client seems to be comfortable with it. We also set a restriction on how many people could be in the home. So when we first started out with it, we were pretty strict on the one person, and if you don't want to come, we'll go over the report with you on the phone. But people try and push it a little bit. I think one I had today had about 6 or 7 people in the house, and I don't push that the people can't be there, but I have seen where there's a little bit of friction between the seller and the buyer because people do push it a little bit. But I kind of ask for people to wear face masks. I think it's good when people wear gloves and that sort of thing. And I think things are loosening up a little bit. And over maybe the first month of COVID, um, it was a little bit slower, and after that, it's just been busy all the way along. So people are definitely buying houses still there, and you'll see that as a mortgage person. I haven't seen any appraisers in the house, so actually I used to see appraisers in homes when I was doing inspections all the time, and I haven't really seen them in the houses. So that you mentioned that, and that actually makes sense. Also, a lot of people are sending out these, like a lot of real estate offices are sending out um, COVID questionnaires. So a lot of times I have to fill out something previous to going into the house, that says basically I haven't traveled, I don't feel sick, and I don't have any symptoms, and then sign it before and send it before I actually go into the house. And other realtors have to do that as well. So other than that, it's been pretty much business as usual. At first, we were actually even doing sanitizations in the house to once we were done, but it seems like people are fine with the fact that if you're wearing a face mask and you're wearing gloves, everybody's happy. Well, that's basically the impact we've seen.
Okay, do you ever get called in to, like, what's the story with mold? Is mold frequently a problem that you find in houses? Do people ever call you in just to look at the mold situation?
Yeah, yeah, we do air quality tests. We do swabs if somebody has mold. So we have all the equipment to do that as well. Um, where you see mold most of the time is either in the basement or the attic. You're going to see mildew or some little bits when people shower, but nobody should really get too upset about that. But you'll see a lot of mold in the attics and a lot in the basements where there's been leakage. So yeah, people call us for that, and we do moisture meter readings and that sort of thing to determine whether people have issues like that on every inspection.
So do you usually find that the mold issue needs to be rectified before, how bad is having mold? Like most houses have mold, don't they? How bad is that?
Uh, every 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 place other than a sterile environment it has some degree of mold. Like so, every room will have it. Outside has it, but it's just really the amount. When you have a real, huge amount of mold in a house, or in a room or in an area, that's considered a real health issue.
Right.
But for instance, in an attic, it's kind of outside of the building envelope, so it really becomes more of an optics issue.
I'm kind of surprised more people just don't get a mold test. They live in a house for years, and
Yeah, but the thing is, if you have to pay, if you have to pay $300 to $500 to get the test done, because it's got to go to a lab and be analyzed.
right.
That kind of gives people pause for sure.
Right.
Unless they've really got a compelling reason to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I had a situation once where, like, if an appraiser is inspecting the house and they see something, they'll note it in the report. And of course, they don't have the expertise to say whether it's real hazardous or not. So, everybody gets nervous. And then, we have to call in somebody who can do further testing or assess what's the scope, how serious of a problem it is before we can complete the mortgage. So I've seen that happen, Gerry. Um,
Yeah.
but I know nowadays people have health issues that
Yeah,
are
100%.
related to toxins and mold in the house. Do you see that, James? Often people have a health issue and therefore they're looking for some assessment about whether there's mold in the house.
Yeah, I think sometimes that happens. More often, people get freaked out by what they see on TV. You know, so a little tiny bit of mold in your shower shouldn't freak you out or make you sick. I've seen people almost, make themselves sick by psychosomatic reactions to mold.
So
Right.
But definitely, I've seen people that are living in like black,
yeah,
awful, wet environments that probably don't realize that they're making themselves sick.
somebody once said that if the mold doesn't come through the drywall, like if you don't see the black mold, so if you get water coming on the other side of the wall into your insulation, as long as you don't see the black mold on the drywall on your side, then everything's okay. Is that what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I, as an example, I've done lots of renovation stuff. So if you got a 15-year-old shower and you pull the drywall out on the back, it's going to be mold,
Black.
right? You take a window out and you put a new window in. You take the frame out, there's going to be mold. Little, around the drywall around a window. So if I've got a window right over here. If I took the frame off, there'd be a little bit of mold there.
But if I have water coming into my window and then I fix the problem, so there's no more water coming in, but I know I've got water behind the window, is that a concern? Or do I just go, well, there's just a little
Well,
mold
I,
there?
I think that, yeah, usually it's going to grow on the dark side of the drywall. So the idea is that mold doesn't like sunlight, doesn't like light. It likes the dark side. So it'll stay back there, and it probably wouldn't be an issue unless you have something. Let's say you have an area where it's blowing through. So you
Right.
have an area where you have a gap that it could blow through. But generally speaking, no, it's not going to be an issue. And even if you have mold in your attic, because it's outside the envelope, so in other words, you're on the other side of the vapor barrier, it's probably not going to be an issue. But like I said, I've seen people who take it to the extreme and just say, one extreme or the other.
Right.
A little tiny bit in your shower, shouldn't really freak you out, but you shouldn't be sitting in a room full of fungus
Right,
either.
right,
And some, so both extremes exist.
James, there's a question: should mold in the attic be a concern?
Uh, it's generally more of an optical issue. So because it's outside the building envelope, it probably isn't causing a lot or any health issues. But your indoor air quality could be tested for probably about $300 to determine whether you do have an issue in your living space. You're not gonna spend time in your attic, so probably not. But an extreme amount of mold in an attic can cause the sheathing to deteriorate, and that can be an issue.
There's another question here. Will mold grow on its own if the cause has been addressed? So if you
It
had
shouldn't
mold,
grow without water, some kind of moisture, and it could be either leakage or it could be ventilation issue. If you have a ventilation issue, like you're not getting if air is getting into your attic through your house and not getting out, it can cause some mold issues.
Okay.
And the same thing with even ventilation in your house.
that's
Okay.
awesome. We know a lot more about mold now, don't we, Tim?
Okay. Yeah, we're in good shape. And James, thanks very much again. If you have time and you'd like to hang in,
Yeah,
we're
I'll hang in.
okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're going till 9.
Mhm.
We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have some music events soon. Maybe you'll come out with your guitar.
I appreciate it. Love to.
All right, and
Thank you.
we're in real person, not just on Zoom.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
All right.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, James. Okay. So next
Who's
up,
next?
we have Jonathan Weaver.
Oh, the tiny home.
Jonathan Weaver
Nice,
is
nice,
on deck.
nice, nice,
Jonathan, how you
nice.
doing? Good to see you. Oh, hold
Uh-oh,
on. We can't hear you
can't
yet.
hear you.
Oh, can you
There
hear
you
me
are.
now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. There you
You're
go.
Good. Thanks for having me.
a
No problem.
pleasure. You're
Pleasure.
looking well. How have you been?
Well, they say COVID will make you a hunk, a chunk, or a clunk, and I think I may be a bit of a chunk. I've been eating well.
Well, welcome to the club.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Right on.
Me too.
Right on. Yeah. Jonathan, I remember a few years ago, we took a drive from Toronto to go see our buddy in Hamilton, our friend Harry Stinson, and you were telling me about this vision you had, to have a trailer park, mobile homes, tiny homes, and you made it happen. You made it happen. So you've got this place now. Is it Cooley Pond? Is that the name of it?
So Cooley Pond is the body of water. The history on the water is it's a spring-fed pond, about 22 acres. It's where all the farmers used to cut their ice before refrigeration.
Okay.
And there's been a campground there for 85 years. The first family, and it's been the swimming pond since time began for local farmers and such. This is actually located halfway between Woodstock and Brantford, just south of the 403.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Wow.
tell us what are you doing out there, and what's the plan?
Well, it's funny. I think we've had politicians tell us about affordable housing since forever, and and they generally don't do it, right? So when I looked at this as a personal project, it was profitable from day one. I was looking at a growth opportunity. We're going from 264 sites to 400. And the last but not least, uh, we're giving people an opportunity to, change their lives financially. I mean, if you look at John Q. average Canadian, um, this is the site here for those looking on the screen. We've got a 22-acre pond, about half of which is not actually on our property. We're a 63-acre trailer park, or as I like to call it, a cottage condominium community.
Uh-huh.
There's a bit of a stigma to
Right.
trailer parks, so we're referring to it as a cottage condominium community.
So, Jonathan, this is year round.
Correct. So when I bought the park, a portion of the park was year round, and a portion of the park was 6 months. And we're 30. Just as your first speaker was talking about, development times. I'm about 40 months into the process to make the entire park year round.
And has I find this fascinating because I've been an advocate for this type of living also. And I agree with you 100%. The municipalities and the government really need to be more supportive for this type of a concept because this is where we solve a lot of the affordable housing issues. So I commend you for doing it. I'm
Well, we're very lucky. The last mayor we got, Mayor Bailey, is super proactive. He actually grew up in a trailer park and has been super, super supportive. The chief operating officer for Brant County, Mr. Bradley, has been fantastic with us. I think I frustrated him a few times with some of our demands and wondering, when this might all take place. But fortunately for me, he also, before becoming the chief operating officer for Brant County, was actually working for the government running parks. So he's very familiar with what a fantastic lifestyle they can represent, and frankly, he understands the mathematics. The fact that people can live for $500 a month to pay their taxes, their sewer, their water, their garbage pickup, and have the snow cleared in the winter.
I mean,
So
sorry, this is a revenue source for the municipality too. So I really don't understand why more municipalities aren't jumping on board, because a lot of the trailer parks, it's becoming more expensive. I think it was back in the Liberals, I think back in the day, started taxing these parks if they had certain amount of trailers on them. And so, so a lot of you're seeing a lot of these trailer parks with the trailers pulling out. It becomes too expensive. So I've always thought too that these trailer parks would make awesome permanent homes. I mean, the infrastructure is there to a certain degree. I'm sure you have to upgrade it for.
There is an upgrade. There is an upgrade component. I mean, I would say we spent the better part of $500,000, and we're gonna before it's over, we will have spent about $4 million upgrading infrastructure.
What is the legal structure? Is it a co-op?
So we actually have a corporation that owns the property. And so we're creating a corporate condominium agreement as opposed to a municipal condo agreement.
Interesting.
So not unlike, I like to tell people, instead of a 62-story building, we have a 62-acre condominium.
So it's very similar to condos that all of us would be familiar with as far as the rules, the regulations, the ownership. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, in a building, you own from the drywall in, and in this one, you own from the grass up.
Right.
So,
but so people are paying rent.
Correct.
Right. So they own the mobile home, and they're paying.
Right. They own their unit.
Yeah.
And then they pay a condo fee of $500 a month.
Right. Awesome. Jesus, that's awesome. What's the smallest unit you have? What's the largest unit you have?
Smallest unit is 480 square feet. Largest unit is 1,080 square feet. And that's a limitation based on a Z240 designation of a mobile home.
Do you allow investment opportunities? Do you allow people to buy them and rent them out?
So we do. And, I would suggest to you that a used park model, double wide, about 1,000 square foot unit, you can buy for $90,000. When you look at, after paying your park fee of $500 a month, your gross revenue would be $1,300 a month, leaving you $800 a month, $9,600 a year on a $90,000 investment. It's better than 10%.
Awesome. We got to get into this, David.
Yeah, it sounds really good. We've got this meat wanting to retire. Do you want to run us through this example?
Sure. So I, when I think about who would find us appealing, I look at the typical Canadian. They're 54 years old. They're married. The household income's 64 grand. They have about 125,000 saved towards retirement, but they have no pension. The good news is they bought their house 20 years ago for 150 grand. The bad news is they still owe 100,000. They had kids that they put through school. They bought that boat in 2004. They may have paid off their credit cards, what have you. So the real dilemma they have is, I'm 54 years old. I want to retire at 65. How do I pay off my $100,000 mortgage and save for retirement? And the answer is they can't. So what we suggest they do is sell their home. And when they sell their home is probably worth about $425,000, give or take, after realty fees. So they walk away with $325,000. If they spend $150,000 on a trailer, they now have $400,000 in their retirement account, and they're mortgage free. So the neat part about where they go forward, if they were to invest at 7%, 11 years from now, they're going to have something like $864,000 in their retirement account. At 7%, that'll pay them a pension of $56,000 a year for life. Well, actually forever, because they're living on interest only, and they'll be able to give the 800 grand and change to their kids or grandkids when they pass. So, I mean, it really takes people from desperation. I can't pay off my mortgage and save for my retirement. And it actually gives them financial freedom. And I call, I literally call it being wealthy, and wealthy being, if you make the same income without working the 40 hours, you're wealthy.
Jonathan, are purchasers getting financing for these things?
Yeah, so we've got two banks that I'm aware of right now that like these. One is TD and the other is BMO. We're having actually better response with BMO, but in listening to Firm Capital, I thought maybe there might be a couple of, there might be a part of the other reason I listen to your guys' podcasts. I'm always looking for different lenders that do things that aren't quite inside the box.
Interesting.
Have you talked to Meridian Credit Union? Are there any of the credit unions interested in this kind of thing?
I'll be honest. I'm 34 months into the project, and I have spent most of my time cleaning up the park. Unfortunately, the previous owner treated it like a hobby rather than a business, and so my primary focus has been cleaning up the park and acquiring units for people to be able to live in.
Jonathan, have you ever explored trust companies providing funding through RSPs, through mortgages?
Oh,
and RSPs?
oh yeah. I mean that I've as your co-host will know, I used to work for a trust company, so I'm very familiar with the idea of self-directed accounts. When I look at people who buy a unit in the park, an option will be there for them to also buy a share. So most of our customers today are not shareholders at all. They're merely paying the full 500. If we look at the mathematics, investing at ours pays a 7% dividend. This particular condo agreement. And I was just looking at people who are retired now. With COVID, as many of you may have experienced a bit of a crunch in your accounting. And unfortunately, when you're 65, you don't have time for your account to bounce back over the next 10 years. So this may be a time where, again, we see senior citizens selling their home, downsizing. And with COVID, I think we're also seeing that people don't want to live in an old age home. They'd much rather still have their own unit and be able to isolate while still having the benefit of a community that they can reach out to and be a part of.
So, Jonathan, I'm a big advocate of trying to help people, lend mortgages in their RSPs. So it sounds like this is a good avenue, your park and this concept.
Yeah, face value on a mobile home is a little higher too. So, your investors are getting a return that they're accustomed to from private lending. Like you're seeing a first mortgage at 75% loan to value, paying 7 or 8%.
Does anyone have questions here from the audience?
Questions from the gallery?
Let's see online if we've got any questions for Jonathan. Yeah, no, not yet. So this is Jonathan, this is something people could enjoy it on their own if they want to, or they could buy it like they would buy an investment property. Is that basically it?
Very much so. Very much so. Now we have what we call a GPS, a guaranteed profit system.
Okay.
Where because the park is already making sure that we collect the park fee, we'll also do the collection of their rent and disbursements and take care of maintenance and those sort of issues. But we also have a guaranteed profit system where we lock in a little lower amount where we build a cushion in for maintenance that would pay for appliances or any other maintenance.
Where's the next project going to be, Jonathan?
Well, it's interesting you asked that. There's another one just north of Toronto that we let's put it this way: we're very close to putting an offer on. And there's a third one. There's a third one on Highway 48 that we're getting engaged with. So we're very excited about giving. I mean, if I look at our legacy, we're really working with municipalities to show them how affordable housing can and frankly should work.
Yeah, good for you. That's awesome. Ian,
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you. Hey, Jonathan, I had a quick question. As an investor, if I were to purchase one of those units, the double wide,
Yes.
and put it in the into the park, do you look after the property management as far as finding the tenants that would be in there, or do I choose them? What?
Well, that is the fabulous, by the way, fantastic question. So I've experienced both so far. I've got people who say, hey, I bought it. I already know who's going in it. My kid is,
Yeah.
right. And frankly, if you look at affordable, people who have equity in their homes, you know, a home line of credit's under 3% right now. And so they go, I can literally give my kid a mortgage. I recommend that they charge their kid more than the rate that they're getting on their home, only because they've earned that equity, so they should get a bit on it. But I've had other people who say to me, Jonathan, listen, I'm never going to be anywhere near Woodstock, let alone Brantford. Can you find me someone who passes a police check, a credit check, and is likely to pay? Now, the great news for me is that we've just become a dealer for Belcamp Modular and General Coach Canada, and we're expecting, because we're 12 minutes away from the Toyota factory in Woodstock, we know that there will be a number of people who will be downsizing and who will want to carry either a small mortgage or will choose to rent because they have so little saved. And what they really want to do is just let their the proceeds from their house sale compound until retirement. So we've got people, as you suggest, saying, can you find me a tenant that will pay?
Got it. And then set up as a condo. Is there a condo board there as well for the owner?
So the answer is it's a corporate condominium agreement, which makes it very, very similar to a municipal condo agreement. Yeah. Obviously, today I own virtually all 400 sites today. Okay. But over time, I'll have less and less voting power as more and more people take ownership of their park.
Can these be held in a corporation?
Well, the short answer is yes. My corporation, I happen to own an Ontario corporation, so I own a
number of units through the corp. So I could own one through a corp.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Good. Anybody else out there? Questions?
Excellent. Okay. Are there any other questions there? No, I think we've covered it. Okay, so I'm going to put up everybody's contact information on the screen again. Jonathan, thanks a lot. It was a great presentation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
that's
we'd
great.
Like to continue. Here's about movable or immovable assets.
A couple of questions here, Jonathan. Can we move it, or is it immovable? So obviously it's off the wheels, right?
Well, no. So this is a very important part. So what we're talking about is a Z240, which is considered a mobile home. It still has wheels on it. Yes, it's been jacked up and put on, on pillars, but it still has wheels. So it could, if you're looking at a single wide, far easier to, a single wide is far easier to move than a double wide. You're not pulling this thing with a pickup truck, to go camping for the weekend. But it is a movable asset.
Right.
A double wide, is probably 3 days to take it apart. And you're going to need a transport truck.
Wouldn't a movable asset prevent it from having a mortgage registered against it?
So you can still get a collateral. You can still get collateral mortgages. That's why TD and BMO. That's how TD and BMO deal with it.
Even through an RSP though.
With the RSP, I'd have to look that up.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe we can assist you. We can talk to, if you're open, we can look into.
100%.
Okay. What amenities does the park offer? Adele is asking.
Great question. So we've got 2 halls. We've got a 3,800 square foot meeting hall where long weekends, non-COVID, have dances. It has a dart league. We've got horseshoe pits. We've got the 22-acre pond with fantastic fishing. I saw you showed the picture of the big pike. We also have bass, perch, and carp and the carp is good fishing, not necessarily good eating, but we do have a carp catching contest annually. Last year, I think it was a 42-incher that weighed in about 9 pounds that won the carp contest for the year. The kids fishing derby was 2 weeks ago, and I think the winner was a 21-inch bass. Beyond that, we don't really, I don't know what else from amenities. There's a lot of, nearby attractions, but within the park itself, it's a quiet place to live with a fire pit in your yard.
Jonathan, somebody's asking if it can be rented out on a short-term basis, like week to week or.
Yeah, we don't do that. We do, but you asked the question earlier. I've got several customers who do rent out by the week.
Okay, so you don't prevent that from happening.
Oh, I don't prevent that at all.
Okay.
Okay, are you making any parks in scenic areas like Shirkston Shores and Crystal Beach, for example?
So Shirkston Shores has about 1,500 units there, but they've decided to stay 6 months. But we're not really going to go to. I mean, they have amenities like, like a water park and a great many other things. That said, you're going to spend $150,000 on a summer cottage that you can only use 6 months of the year. By contrast, we're selling homes, a place for people to live. There, I've seen there is another park down that way. Shelter Cove, I think is its name, further down Lake Erie.
Yeah. Okay.
Just sorry, one quick question.
Sure.
And I forget it. Hold on here. What are these places heated with?
So good question. So we have we're in talks with Union Gas as we have gas on our property, but in the short term we'll continue to use propane. Davis Fuels, Superior Propane, and I'm trying to think of the other company that comes in, but people lease a 300-pound tank and get it filled periodically.
Yeah. Does everybody have propane, or does some just heat with electric?
I don't know if anyone going just electric. That's insanity on a stick. I mean, the price of electricity is ridiculous, and it's only going to get worse.
Right. Okay.
Although we do have a couple people with solar panels who recharge their battery that way, but that's more in the section of the park that's seasonal as opposed to year round.
Gotcha. Quickly, the price point approximate. So you got 400 square feet up to 1,000 square feet.
Sure. So a used unit, 480 square feet is going to start in the mid 60s. A brand new unit's going to be about a brand new units single wide or closer to 500 or 600 square feet, and they're about $120,000. And then your max size, 1,080 square feet, is anywhere from 90 to 250,000.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, great.
Awesome. That's
okay,
great.
good. So let's talk more again soon, Jonathan. Appreciate you giving us the lowdown. Very interesting information, and we will talk with you soon. We're going to bring Jin Kim.
No problem.
Okay, so hang in if you can. If you got to go, that's okay. We're gonna be wrapping up in about 10 minutes anyway. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jonathan.
No problem.
Okay, Jin, how you doing? Jin, you've been so patient. Are you there?
How you doing?
Hello,
Hey,
Jim.
there he is.
There he is.
Jin,
How you doing?
good to see you. It's been
Fantastic. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. You know, you were one of our most loyal attendees at our regular meetings. So we miss seeing you on almost a weekly basis. It's good to see your
Absolutely.
smiling face. How have you been, and what have you been up to? We had a talk, and it sounds like you're
he's
cooking. You
he's
got
got a
projects on the go. Tell us what's happening.
he's got a good project on the go. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I've been busy. The COVID time has been very interesting. I think it was a time that kind of helped me really like crystal clearly realize that the path that I was heading towards is the right path. Meaning, I think I saw a lot of people panicking during the last 3-4 months. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
you're
can.
good. You're
Sound good.
Okay. Yeah, and I saw a lot of people panicking, especially people who were on short-term market, especially Airbnb, and also surprisingly long-term market as well. Because interestingly, during the COVID time, the price kept on going up in Toronto area, and at the same time, the long-term rent kept on going down. So it's making things a lot more, puts people in a very curious position. Like I'm a fundamentalist, and especially during last 5-6 months, I became a firm believer of sticking to the fundamentals, especially the times to come for next 6 months, a year, maybe 2, 3, 4, even 10 years. I do believe that we're gonna go through some hard times, and a lot of big people have been talking about it. The whole big the end of the big debt cycle that's been coming, and with the COVID, it's been really accelerating things. The amount of money that the central bank's been putting into the money they were putting into the system have been just staggering. And they're doing everything they can do to keep the economy going in terms of keeping the interest rate low and trying to subsidize people with the creative money. But it's going to have big impact down the road, and we're already in big trouble, in my opinion, and I think we're going to be in even bigger trouble. So, but at the same time, I had my concerns, but I'm becoming a more believer of this is a great opportunity as well. I mean, like I realized that whether we go through hyperinflation or deflation, or whatever that's coming down our way, we're going to go through some tough times. But it has happened in the past, and people survived, and we are going to get through. As long as we can hold on to the hard asset, such as real estate, gold and silver, or any sort of collectibles, we're going to come out fine. Maybe the accounting system will change. Maybe we no longer have US dollar as the controlling currency anymore. Maybe we're not going to have Canadian dollars anymore. Maybe it'll be some weird currency called Luna, or who knows. But at the same time, as long as we hold on to the asset, the accounting system changes, but we're still going to have that. We'll be able to keep the value. And as long as people continue to produce, we'll come out at the end of it okay. But now the question becomes, okay, am I holding on to something that is of value through these hard times, and once we get through this hard time? And at the same time, in order to hold on to this asset, we need fuel. And that fuel is cash flow. We need to be able to hang on to that asset. So I think we really need to pay more attention on the fundamentals. Like, okay, what kind of assets are we acquiring? Is it going to hold value? Can I improve the value substantially? Once I improve the value, can I hold on to it if the difficult time comes? So my conclusion came to be only acquiring prime real estate in downtown Toronto, because there will always be renters and there will always be demand for that, that land down the road. Now, I started implementing a system, I've been, gearing towards short-term rentals and Airbnbs and co-living since late last year. And then, then we got hit with COVID, and a lot of people that knew that I was, running Airbnb, they contacted me and said that, hey, how's Airbnb doing? Like, isn't Airbnb getting hit? And I'm like, every single time I got that question, I just chuckled, because I was doing fine. not finding the way that I was making a lot of money. I was maybe actually in reality, I was making about 10 to 15% less than I would make in a long-term rental market. But the beauty is that I was consistently getting a steady, solid, high quality guest staying at my place, and I wasn't stuck with long-term tenants. I had friends who had, furnished rentals in prime location. They were renting it for 2-bedroom, renting it for $3,500 a month. But during the COVID time, the tenant moved out. They were having a hard time filling it with $2,700. And once you lower that rent for $700 a month and you get a long-term tenant, pardon my French, but you're screwed. You don't know when they're gonna leave. Now your cash flow is gone, right? Mm-hmm. So they started contacting me and said, hey, Jim, can you help me out? So I started helping them out, and it turned out that, they weren't making as much money, but they are consistently getting steady flow of high quality tenants. They were covering their bases. Now, starting from July, they start to pick up, right? The trend was changing. And I think that for me, the most important thing is that being able to stay flexible, especially like during the COVID time, through, many of the events that you had, there's a lot of the topics were about, how do we get good quality real estate, but at the same time, like how do we attract high quality tenants, and how do we make sure that we don't get into trouble and collect the rent. But by staying in short-term rentals, you automate, and also by offering them high quality accommodations at a prime location, at a prime price, you automatically eliminate a lot of troublesome people. And you stay flexible. And when the time comes, and especially like now, like let's say 50% of the short-term rental people, especially condo people, they lost their shirt. They went to long-term market and they're never coming back. And once people start moving around a lot more, like I'm starting to see a lot of people on vacation coming to Toronto from Montreal, from Windsor, and also I'm starting to see immigrants coming to Canada, like people from UK, people from India, and in my opinion, there will always be people who's looking for short-term furnished rentals. I've even had Amazon a manager. He's telling me that, oh, my office got shut down. I mean, we're not going back to the office. And the office is going to reopen in October. But I'm not sure if I'm actually going to go back to the office or I'm going to continue remote working. So I am not in a position to buy a house, but I'm not even in a position to get into a long-term rental market. And there's a lot of people who are in flux now, right?
Okay,
and especially, yeah.
So I understand the point you made about, if you decide to rent and then you end up dropping the rental price, and the long-term tenant, you could really be screwed. That makes a lot of sense. Now we know that people who've been running short-term rentals, some of them have been struggling a little bit lately because of the COVID thing and concerns about people coming in and cleanliness and all that. So can you give us an idea? I know you have this co-living model. So the question, could tell us a little bit about it, and also tell us what you have going on, because it's 9 o'clock, and I'm sorry we got you a bit late, but we want to wrap up soon. So tell us what you're working on and what kind of opportunities there could be for people if they want to work with you.
For sure. Like the co-living is a new twist in kind of short-term living. And what you do is essentially a glorified rooming situation. You rent out your property per room basis. But instead of you renting it to a low-income person, you're renting it to white-collar office workers. So you're targeting young demographics, millennials, professionals, doctors, or people are in fellowships, accountants and lawyers. For those people, let's say when they come to Toronto and they want to look for a place, they get a condo for $2,100. they gotta fill it with furnitures, they gotta sign up a lease, and they gotta get all the sign, the internet and TV services. But still they're lonely. But instead of them going and finding their own place for themselves, they can come and join or get a room at a co-living house. It's fully furnished. All the services are provided. You get, the internet service, maid service, music service, you get everything. And all you have to do is bring your suitcase and your laptop. And instantly you have a hoteling service and network of friends. So I am building out co-living compound or complex to say. And I just locked down on 2 properties at Dovercourt and Bloor, about 450 meters from Ossington Station. And once I'm done going through the committee, I'm gonna have 7 units in it, and each units have about 3 rooms. And I'm gonna end up having about 21 rooms. And at the going rate of $1,500 a room in co-living situations in Toronto right now, and it'll produce about $31,000 in gross income per month. So I'm looking for investors to work with it. And if I can share my screen with you, I can show you some schematics.
I'm not sure. I gotta give you control of the screen somehow. Let me see.
Share screen. No.
I think I have to enable that for you. Let me see if I can do that.
Okay.
I can make you a co-host. You want to make you the co-host? Sure. Okay, I'm making you a co-host. So you should be able to share
now.
There's also a couple of questions there, which we'll try and get to. Okay, are you sharing your? Are you able to share?
I'm trying to share, but it says that only host can share this meeting.
Well, yeah, we tried to make you a co-host. It's asking. Okay. It should ask if you want to be a co-host. No.
No. What I can do is that maybe just I'm gonna hold it up to the screen.
Okay.
Maybe that'll work. You want to try that?
Yeah,
sure.
Let's try it.
Okay. Not sure how well you can see it, but this is a little awkward. So I have these 2 properties side by side.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yep. Right by Bloor and Dufferin. And this little gray area, that's a 12-story, 102-unit condominium that's been approved. And there's Ossington Station like right up there somewhere, which is about 450 meters. So I got these 2 properties side by side. That's the Bloor is right at the top right here, right here. And just go to the bottom. So once I get through the committee, I'm gonna have about 7,000 square foot above grade. And I will have about 10,000 square foot, including the underground. And yeah, I'm not quite sure you can see it. So 3 units on one side, 2 units on the other side, and I can build 2 laneway houses at the back. So it's a prime downtown location. I believe that between Ossington and Lansdowne along Bloor will be a hot spot for next while. Because I'm not, you probably heard of the Galleria condominium development that was launched at Dufferin and Dupont at the beginning of the year. It's a big 6-phase master plan community. They released the phase 1 and it was sold out in one day. That's at Dufferin and Dupont. there's going to be new master planned community coming at Dufferin and Bloor, which is 600 meters from this location. And then Cadillac Fairview owns the Dufferin Mall, another massive space just south of it. That's going to be completely redeveloped as well. And also there's a new development coming at Bloor and Dundas. And that's also going to be a massive redevelopment. I can show you the quick map here. Where the star is, where my location is, and where the purple are, that's where all the new developments are coming.
Okay.
Looks like you got a winner there, Jim. How many parking spaces do they require you for that? You said 30, so
It's a 20, I'm gonna have 21 units and 0 parking lot requirements because I'm gonna have laneway houses. Laneway houses negate all the parking lot requirements.
What kind of permissions do you need from the committee? Do you
Nothing much, just a slight variations, not even much, because if I go to the street view, I am sandwiched in between commercial zoning, which allows 12-story, and just south of it, there's a 6-story condominium already, and I'm just building 3-story. So it's like I had a number of great conversation with top planners, and they all feel that this is like what I'm trying to achieve is more than reasonable. As you can see, that's the property. And on the south of it, there's a 6-story condominium right there. And to the north, just right here, starting from there, the clinic, that's a commercial zone. You can build 12 stories there.
Okay. Questions. Terry Wallman. Downtown Toronto will be the place in the future, but at the same time, you're saying the country is heading towards a whole lot of hurt. So would it be better to sit with a cash position for the next 24 months and then buy in?
Great question. I get that question all the time. It's a timing issue, but I don't think anyone can time it. Number one, let's say you have $1 million asset today and you have $500,000 in debt. If you can leverage it and pull $300,000 as a HELOC, you get 300. Let's say 6 months from now, market tanks and goes down by 20%. Now that's $800,000. Even if you can get 80% loan to value, your loan to value amount has gone down to 640. You just lost $160,000. And at the same time, when we get to that position, the banks are not going to give you that money. Even if you sit on that cash, you pull that cash now and you sit on it, and 6 months from now, unless otherwise you have balls of steels, pardon my language, but you're going to be shitting your pants. I don't know too many people who can pull their trigger at that point. So it's a timing issue. If you can pull it, go for it. But
okay,
it'll be hard.
Right. Yeah. Okay. One more. Okay, we got one more question. When you rent furnished units, do you fall under the Innkeepers Act? Navtaj asking that.
What is? I don't know what that is. So I couldn't answer you.
Okay. All right. Let's ask a different one from Navtaj. Why not small towns compared to Toronto?
Never. Sorry. I don't touch it.
that was the spot.
Because here, it only comes down to two things, in my opinion. Real estate investing is all about clients and the land. I do not want Motel 13 clients. I want Ritz-Carlton clients. In order to do that, you need to be at a prime location. I don't see Paris Hilton going to some small town, Ontario, unless otherwise it's a Collingwood or some really fancy cottage. Number two, it's the land that holds the value. It's not the property on top of it. If you got 2,000 square foot house in Toronto, Timbuktu, build cost might be the same, but the end value is absolutely different. Like, it's about the land. It's nothing else. It's about the land and the use that you can make out of it. So to me, it's all about fundamentals. Like if something happens, something tragic happens to the whole planet, I don't see Toronto as a city losing its importance because of the location of it. Proximity to the lake and just geographically, it's an important location. So I'm much rather hold land in Toronto than anywhere else. Just my personal theory.
Okay, I think you're right, Jen. I think you're on a good project there. People can invest with you, I take it. Are you looking for investors, or how do they?
Yes,
guess
I am.
your contact information was on there, so.
Yeah,
Anybody
David, if you could have put my telephone number on it, that'll be great.
Yeah,
I
we
think it's
we
only
did.
on my
We
Been
website.
put
there
it.
a number of times.
We put
so.
everybody's contact there.
Oh, good, excellent.
Yeah, anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, that was great, Jen. Thanks very
Yeah.
much. All the best with that project. Look forward to seeing how you make out with that one. So
Thanks,
I
Jen.
guess we're getting late here, David.
Yeah, it's getting
So,
late. James, thank you for being with us.
Thanks,
We
James.
appreciate it. Everyone who joined, all you guys at home, all you guys who are here, and lady, thank you very much. And we have an amazing rest of the summer, everybody. Let's keep in touch. Give us a ring anytime, and we're still available and looking forward to hearing from you. And we'll resume our events in September.
Look forward to coming back in the fall.
All right. So
Thanks, everybody.
happy summer, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care.
Happy summer, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.